Hi. Hi, everybody. We are live. Look at this. Hello, hello. Welcome to Eleanora Live. I'm Ellie Morrison, everybody. This is my IGTV series where I interview friends from all over the place, from right here on my little pink couch in my home studio office in San Antonio, Texas. And I'm so excited to welcome my guest today. I know many of you tuning in know her. It's my sister-in-law, Jennifer Morrison. We have been apart from each other now for a little bit over a month, and we were dying to do this just to catch up with one another, because it's been a few weeks since we've really gotten a chance to talk, and today we are going to be talking about business, beauty, and baking. So once I see that Jen is requesting here, let me see if I can add her in. We're going to welcome.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi. I haven't seen you in so long.
A month, a little over a month.
Wow, has it already been a month?
Uh, well, the very end of June. So we're already into August, which is time has flown.
It's so crazy. I was like texting with my mom yesterday and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm great." She's like, it's been a few days." And I was like, "Oh, I felt like I talked to you yesterday."
I know time has been flying. I think it's something about sort of being forced to be home has some reason passed by even faster, because I think Dan and I have just been so focused on like working on projects. So the past month in particular has really just like been a blink. I don't know if you feel that way.
Yeah, I agree. We get up on Monday and all of a sudden we're like, "Wait, is it Friday?" This is so crazy.
Right. I feel the same way. And then it's through the weekend, and like I'm using the weekend to do, like yesterday, I did a bunch of rearranging and the cleaning, and I'm like, okay, but today's my only day where I can vacuum and mop and sweep and clean the toilets and like,
I
so it's
know.
just, yeah,
It's
it's
a
like
lot.
never
It's a
ending.
lot. I mean, you know about cleaning day in our house. You were quarantining with us. It's yeah, I know my house a lot better than I used to, that's for sure.
Well, what have you guys been up to lately?
The same stuff pretty much. The one thing that we've added a little bit is like Jerry's been doing some more golfing, which has been a nice, like, safe way of like, going and wearing a mask, and they all have their own cart, or they walk and they stay 6 feet apart. But it's like the safest way to sort of be social and also be in nature. Um, so yeah, so he's been doing that quite a bit. I actually just pulled my golf clubs out, which I haven't touched in like 10 years. Um, and I was never a good golfer. It's not like I ever got good. I've never been good. But the handles were like disintegrating. So we just got, we just took them in to get them fixed.
They've definitely been sitting then, but I think mine have too. I would be surprised if mine are in any sort of better shape than that if I were to pull them out. And mine are my grandmother Mimi's hand-me-down clubs, because
No,
when she was in her, I don't know, 70s and like probably early 80s, she took up
Mhm.
golf with her friends, and it was like
That's so cute.
the Golden Girls out on the golf course. I mean, it was so funny. So like once she got to a certain age, she was like, "Here, you can have all this stuff because I think that you want to play golf." So yeah,
That's
I haven't touched them in years.
really cute, picturing her out there.
But
Um, That's great. Yeah, so I mean, besides that, it's just, I'm on Zoom calls with like creative conversations and trying to get everything, into a good place so that if and when we are ready to start being on sets again, that I have stuff ready to go. Oh, I don't know if I have a bad connection. I can't hear you. I tried taking my headphones out.
what about that?
Oh, there we go. Yeah,
There we go. Okay.
we'll just give up on
Um,
technology.
I tried to like have a mic and everything, but I think my AirPods, these things sometimes interrupt the
Oh,
connection.
is that what you normally do, is have just earpods in?
Well, I don't. This was the first time that I tried it with a mic because if I'm feeding the audio in, I have to be able to hear it back, and so I have to use yeah. So it's just kind of a new thing I was trying. But like even when I'm on calls, sometimes people say I can't hear you. I can't hear you. The connection's gone out. So I don't know if I need to just actually plug in headphones or what. But
Well, I
we
just had
tried.
mine plugged in. It didn't seem to help. I have no idea. It's like no matter how many times I Zoom, I still feel like I'm failing on my way into a Zoom call.
I it's so stressful. And I've been doing some of these Eleanora live interviews on Zoom because some guests prefer to be pre-recorded as opposed to doing it live.
Got it.
And like I just pre-recorded one on Friday, and there's so many things to remember. Like I have to remember to hit record. If I don't remember to hit record, then I've lost the entire thing. So like this, but the guest that's coming up next week, she's so sweet, and I completely forgot to hit record until we did the whole intro. Like she was answering her first question.
Oh no.
So it's just it is what it is. She was very gracious, and I'm just gonna have to edit it like
Yeah.
nothing happened. But that's sort of figuring out everything on our feet. I think everybody's facing it, which
Yeah.
to me has been refreshing in a way because I feel like that perfectionism pressure has sort of been removed and I'm reading it all over the place in all these different magazines and newspapers and whatever that the age of perfectionism might be ending just because nobody can have a barrier between home and work now. So I don't know. But
I know. Before we started, I was like, what do I do if Ava starts going crazy barking at the door? I was like, well, I guess it's just going to happen. So
well, Pudge is right
it probably will happen at some point in the hour. Like, I can't imagine it won't.
Pudge is right here. He wouldn't.
Oh, really?
Leave. Yeah. He's so attached to us because we've been home all day, every day.
Yeah, I know. We left for a couple hours to go hit some golf balls the other day, which was tragic on my part. But Ava went crazy when we got back, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this dog has not been alone so long."
I know. Pudge is the same way. We went over to my parents' house to use the pool, just to sit by the pool for like a couple of hours. And when we got back, it was like we'd been gone for 2.5 months.
Forever. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's weird that all of this is not going away anytime soon. I guess that's like the crazier thing is just trying to figure out how, I mean, the amazing thing about humanity is like we always adapt and find a new way, and we're in the midst of figuring out what that adaptation is going to look like and how we're going to be able to keep finding ways to create content and finding ways to safely be social and all of those things. And I think it doesn't seem like this is going to go away anytime soon, even if there is a vaccine. So it just feels like we're all in a position where we have to start rethinking how we do all those things and find a new way. I think about things like when they went from like horse-drawn carriages to automobiles, like that would have been a really kind of wild adjustment, like
you're right.
Even going from like having no stoplights to having stoplights, it's just like it may not have been as dramatic as a pandemic, obviously, or as like tragic as a pandemic, but there have been these huge shifts in what we do as human beings that have required innovation and have required everyone like reimagining what tomorrow looks like, and finding a way to keep going. So it's really uncomfortable, but kind of wild that it's happening in our lifetime,
I know. And I've also found something I was thinking just before we got on, like I've almost been as a creator of content for social media specifically, I've almost been forced to create like inside the box again. I know that sounds really weird, but like to scale back and scale back and scale back and scale back in my mind what I'm used to how I'm used to creating with collaborating with other people and thinking of how big I can make something. It's almost like how small can I make something but still be really effective? And like this is why I'm doing this, it's because it's literally the only thing that I can control right now. And the only collaboration that it requires is somebody on the other side of the Instagram. So it's just, and I've been really, really interested to follow a lot of different brands and see how they're adapting and how they're sort of doing
Mm-hmm.
the same thing. And like, I know, oh, that store, you know who I have loved their Instagram right now is, what is that beauty store? Violet Gray and like Love Shack.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They've been doing the coolest, like
Really?
sort of, yes, they've been doing like, if you were to take a contact sheet of imagery, like,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them move as video and some of them are still like
Oh,
whatever
that's cool.
yeah, whatever they're doing is really innovative, and I love looking at brands that are doing stuff like that because, you know, and even just forcing me to reimagine the ways to make content intriguing enough for people and like stand out,
Yep.
and how I'm presenting even editorial, you know, like how can
Mm-hmm.
I make an editorial promo into like a video with voice over and like, you know, all this
Yeah.
stuff just to try and engage people because I think everything is just having to be innovated in a different way right now.
It's everything's trial and error, which
Yeah.
is crazy. But you know, it's going to be interesting to see what comes to the other side of it. That Violet Gray store is very dangerous. Like
Yeah.
walking in, I have to like, I used to have to get one of my lotions there and I would have to put like blinders on. I'd have to be like, don't look at anything. Don't look at like you walk in and it's like so perfectly curated and everything's beautiful. And you're like, I want everything in the store. I want every candle. I want every product. I want every weird little rolling thing I can roll on my face. And I just have to literally go to the counter and be like, I just want the Augustina Spader cream, just the cream. And they're like, are you sure you don't want anything else? I'm like, I'm sure.
Well, I know it's super hard because I've gone in there on, you know, to find that
You're here, yeah.
store. And it's terrible because the whole thing is like, it's like, am I in my living room? Am I in my boudoir?
I know, you just want to hang out and buy stuff.
Yes.
Like, get me out of here, I can't smile.
It's so bad. It's so bad. But speaking of beauty, okay, I'm dying to know, we haven't talked about this, I don't think.
Yeah.
What is the one thing, the one experience out of your beauty routine that you haven't been doing for the past 4 months that you miss?
I'm wondering how honest to be. Well, here's the thing. I found that there's a lot of things I can do, which is great. Yeah. Like, I can take care of my nails pretty well. I mean, I do miss getting a pedicure, but I do it really well. I can take care of my hair. I've even been able to like do little dustings and trimmings, whatever. But I cannot wax myself. And that is real annoying. Really, really annoying.
No,
I literally call the place that I go daily to see if they've opened. Like, I'm just waiting for the day that the message says, you can come in with a mask. Like, I'm literally like, please be open, please be open, please be open.
Oh my God. Well, for me, it's my eyebrows. Like the most intensive of my beauty routine is like maintaining my eyebrows because they would fly away. Like if I didn't trim them every 2 weeks, like on the 2 weeks on the dot, they would just like, you know, fly away. So I've been getting my eyebrows waxed like every 2 weeks for I don't even know how many years, way longer than I can remember. And for some reason, I don't know if I've just been like looking at beauty with a more creative, you know, and determined approach, but I figured out a system somehow where like, as long as I comb them up, trim them, and then like tweeze them, I can get away without waxing. But like, it's just been, it's been a process, but I think the thing, obviously, thank you. But aside from the typical mani-pedi, I think it's like a really good facial or massage experience. Yeah. Which wasn't regular for me, but I think because I can't have it now, I'm longing for it.
It's interesting because we were talking about wanting to kind of talk about products and things that we've been using in this time, and I just have had to be way more like investigative about it because I could always rely on these amazing people that were helping take care of my skin. You know, I mean, when it's different when I was on a show, you know, when I was on a show for 6 years for House and 6 years for Once Upon a Time and all the traveling and stuff, you have to have help, you know, because there's makeup and hot lights and crazy hours and, you know, all the stuff. And so I was very lucky, you know, I've had the resources to be able to figure out like, oh, I need to go to the face place and like get my skin cleaned and make sure that I'm not, you know, having my skin be dirty for too long. And there's another facialist who I really love who does like, she like helps kind of do lymphatic drainage and stuff. And then there's like the beauty sandwich guy who's like amazing and does like tightening and everything, Ivan Pohl. So there's been these incredible facialists that have really helped me despite my crazy schedule and despite like 4 hours of sleep for long stretches or whatever, you know, that have been able to help me take care of my skin. And all of a sudden it was like, you can't get any of that help, you know? So I've had to really be more thoughtful about figuring out what products work and figuring out what diet works for me, and in terms of like, you know, everything you put in your body is going to affect your skin, and making sure I drink enough water and all of that. But yeah, I feel like I've really gotten an amazing education of what works. And, you know, some of this stuff is more expensive than I wish that it was, you know, I mean, that's the kind of bummer about like really great products oftentimes, is that it does fall in a tough price range. But then some of the products are actually falling in a nice price range. So that was what I was kind of wanting to talk about today, because I get asked so often, you know, it's like one of the things I get most asked is like, what do you use for your skin? And what do you do to take care of yourself? And like, literally, I'm going to take you in my bathroom and you're going to see like all the stuff. Like this is no like, you know, there's no like behind the, there's no, what is the word I'm looking for? Do you know what I mean? Like it's just,
behind the curtain.
Yeah, you're getting like the real behind the curtain situation, because it's the stuff that I use every day, you know? So, so yeah, so for all of the friends out there who've been asking me these questions, I'm giving you all my answers about products. So you can see here, this is like some of my stuff that's in a little corner here. This has sort of been what's been with me the longest. It's more, this is not really about like skin health. This is more just like almost like my perfume. The smell of this is like what I really love. And then I really do love the Osea products. I've been kind of going back and forth between the Sturm hydrolonic, sorry, I'll back up, acid, which is amazing, but this one's really expensive. This one's also kind of equally amazing and not as expensive. So this has been, I kind of trade off to try to make it last longer.
Yes, I totally know.
And then I have talked about this before, but I do love the Augustinus Bader, which is also expensive. But man, if there was one thing you could like save your money for, at least for me, like it's amazing.
Did you hear that, Dan? Dan, are you watching? Did you hear that?
Yeah, Dan, get it for Ellie. It's worth it. And then I had a cool thing sort of happen. This is really hard to do. I have like a weird little.
You look good though.
Okay, thanks. I'm just leaning in my bathroom. So I had a cool thing happen where this company came to me called Lab to Beauty, and they asked if I wanted to have a discount code, like if I wanted to post about their products. And you know, people have done this in the past, and my first answer is always like, just send me some stuff and I'll try it, because I don't want to talk about something if it doesn't work. And so usually it doesn't work. This actually was great. So now it's become part of the corner of my bathroom, which is like in the daily regimen. And I have some favorite things. So like I really like the balancing face wash. I kind of rotate a few face washes, but this is the face wash that lives by this sink. I have a different face wash that lives in the bathtub, and I have a different face wash that lives in the shower. It's all about rotating.
I love that. I totally do it too.
And then this has been like revolutionary. This is like the Better Body Serum.
I know. Yes.
We were together, right? You were here when I realized, right?
Yes. Yeah. I was there, and you brought things down, and you were like, hey, I'm really loving this. You've got to try it, especially because I had a really bad breakout. And you were like, Ellie, try this. It might calm your skin down. And so, yeah, I've been on those products since we left, and I'm loving them. I mean,
that's great.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that it worked, because it's also all natural. I mean, I have to go back to my computer for the list of things, but that was the other thing that was really impressive, was like the list of all the good, like, things about it besides the fact that it works. But I've like
clean and plant-based and vegan.
Yes.
I think.
And I've had like, I'm just gonna sit on the bathtub now. I've had like chronically dry skin my whole life. I was like born with dry skin, and it's all like Jerry's always told you what happened. Jerry's always giving me shit because he's like,
how much lotion can you put on your body? I was like, I'm telling you, my body needs it. But ever since I started using this, it's been like a whole different thing. I have no dry skin. My skin is softer than it's ever been. Like, I mean, I literally sound like an ad for them, but it's just the truth. And then the other thing that I like of theirs is the shower, the bath. It's like a bath wash with bubbles. It doesn't bubble that much, which doesn't bug me, but it does make your skin really like soft and silky from the bath. More Osea, the scrub. This is heavenly. I like, Dan, this is another good one if you're listening. And then more Sturm. You know, you can see it. There's a few brands that kind of rotate, you know, between. And then this is also pretty great too. This is the Lancer face scrub, which feels expensive when you look at it, but lasts a really long time. Like a little bit goes a really long way. So like it's an investment that's worth it. So yeah, I feel like in terms of like beauty secrets, like those are my like daily products, you know, and have really worked, you know, the combination of using that stuff and drinking tons of water and trying to get enough sleep and all that kind of stuff has seemed to really make it like you know, so that I'm not in a horrible position with my skin just because I can't have, you know, incredible professionals taking care of it every day.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing I've learned about skincare for me over the past few years is that just like we talk about with, you know, anything wellness related, like there is no quick fix, you know, and everybody tries to tell you like, come get a facial, you'll be great tomorrow. Come get it. Well, I'm the type of person that goes to get a facial and they can't do extractions on me because I come out way more red and puffy.
Oh, wow.
And I went in. So there's just things that I've learned throughout the years of like what to invest in and what not to invest in. And everybody's skin is different and everybody sort of has like a different sort of makeup. But for me, I always had acne, you know? And so, and that's another thing that I've realized is my acne, it doesn't go away. Like there is no fix for it because what it is inflammation, and it's whether or not I'm, you know, getting enough sleep, if I'm resting enough, if I am, you know, staying up too late or whatever, if I'm not drinking enough water, like all of that affects what's coming out or what's not coming out on my face. You know?
Totally.
It's just something that I have learned over the years. And dermatologist, I mean, I went in January to the dermatologist and I said, I want off of every single cream, wash, whatever that has any hormones in it. Like I want to try if I can do this, you know, without anything. And I've been okay, but it's taken a lot of trial and error of like, and the only thing that I found, somebody asked me, what's your skincare routine like recently, which they never asked me, but it was that I wasn't stressed. I mean, that literally is, it, you know, and it's after spending several weeks with you guys, everything really calmed down. And when I look back on like cycles of adolescence and young adulthood, and I remember times where I was particularly struggling with it or not, it's the times when I've been under most pressure or under most stress that like, that's how my body releases it. So I've just sort of, you know, surrendered to the fact that it's more about management on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about balance, right? It's like, and it's tricky because you can't always control if you're going to be stressed or not. You know, it's like, and sometimes you can, sometimes you can make a decision to meditate and do all the things you need to do to calm down and be thoughtful. But like, sometimes life is stressful and there's just, it's not anyone's choice, you know? And so it's, but then I guess the best thing you can do is try to eat healthy, drink enough water, and find products that do work for your skin and your body so that you're in the best position possible once you come to the other side of that stress, you know?
I think in general, that's just sort of the daily goal for everything, like for diet, for exercise, for skincare, for beauty, all of it. It's just trying to maintain everything as best as possible to function at the highest level to get through all the stuff that we have to get through.
I mean, now it's just waking up and reading headlines.
I don't do it.
I know. I mean, I kind of fluctuate, based on
Yeah.
what I feel like I can handle. But yeah, it's a really unprecedented moment historically.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, but
Yeah.
it's, and then the other part of that is trying to figure out when we're all home all the time, like how to find the balance of like how much you should be working and how much it makes sense to sort of feel like you have purpose in doing some work
Right.
and how much it's important to try to find time off and then how do you delineate that when you never leave the house?
Yes.
I mean, that's what's hard for me is like I'm like, am I just like inventing work? I don't know.
I know. I know. I feel the same way because I've been, Dan and I have been working on a lot of things, and like it'll be Sunday and we'll both be working away, working away, working away. And I'm like, do we really need to be working right now? I don't know.
Right, right.
But also take a break. So we just force ourselves to go sit out in the garden and like take sun for
Take a
30.
breath. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Um,
Well, I've been working on several things, but there's there's a project that's based on a novel called Slingshot, and I don't even know if it's released yet. I know they just like announced what the book cover was going to look like. But I've been working with the writer. It's Amazon bought the project,
so
and so I've been working with the writer trying to get a first draft into Amazon. So we just gave the first draft to Amazon this past weekend. So that's been exciting to be able to kind of see how something is going from novel form into visual form. And it's interesting, it's like it's just interesting to see how when I read the novel, I really loved it and I had such a great response to it. I felt like I recognized this girl from like a version of me that was in high school. I mean, her life is very different than mine, but you kind of see
yeah.
yourself in these characters in some way.
Sure.
But then, you've got the written word to be able to imagine it all and be inside her head. And so that process of taking something that is kind of in the head of a character and trying to make it visual and try to tell that story in a way that's as effective visually as it was on the page as a novel is a really interesting process. And the writer Taylor Truto, I don't know how to say her last name. It's so terrible. I talk to her like every day and I love her. Taylor can't really say her last name, but I can spell it for you if you want. Anyway, she's been great about that, but it's interesting because you have to make these decisions about like, oh, I guess we kind of have to change what this is, even though the spirit of it is the same, certain scenes of things or whatever. So that's been a really interesting process to be a part of adapting, being a part of that process with Taylor as she's adapting this novel into something that we, want to be very visual and active. And, at least in the current iteration of it, it doesn't have narration. So you have a lot more work to do visually to make up for not being able to be like in that character's mind. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's been a really interesting journey to really figure that out and watch Taylor navigate that.
I'm thinking about what you've said, and I realize like so much of the projects that you have been working on lately, they're so visually specific. Like think about Euphoria and, even when I'm flying. And what I've loved learning from working little bits with you over the past year is insight into how you approach a new project from a visual standpoint and how different that process looks like for each different
project.
Each different project. Yeah. And so, I mean, do you find that it's sort of difficult to switch gears from if you have a bunch of irons in the fire? Do you, have trouble sort of switching visual gears, or do you like the challenge of sort of having multiple aesthetics going on and adaptations that you're trying to bring to life?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is it frustrates me, but it probably is good for me. But I don't really know. Like, I've never had the luxury of being able to be just like myopically focused on only one project until I'm like stepping on set or I'm in prep,
Right.
Like until that day happens where like money's being spent and people are showing up and doing their jobs. Like up until that point, you're always multitasking because you don't know what thing is going to be the next real thing. Like, I think the biggest thing people don't realize outside the industry is how long it takes for these things to go from like the seed to the idea to maybe talking about the idea to then maybe selling the idea and how long that might take, and then the development of it once you've sold it. Like,
occasionally something goes like real fast, but for the most part, things start and like it might not be made for 10 years. It might never be made. You might develop it extensively and still never make it. So you always have to have all these, like you were saying, these plates spinning. And that to me, I feel cloudy, you know, like I have to do it. I don't have a choice, but it does frustrate me. But the truth is, if I really could like get outside myself and look at it from a distance, they're probably all informing each other and making each project better because of how sort of multifaceted my creativity and my curiosity has to be in that time. It's just like sometimes mentally I feel like I live in my imagination so much more than I live in real life. And like I get to the end of the day and I'm like, I've been imagining like 10 different movies and I've been problem solving all of them in a way where every time you problem solve it, like the scene in your head changes and you get to the end of the day and you're like, I'm crazy. I've literally lost my mind. Like, I don't know it's real or not. I don't know, you know, like I sometimes I don't even know if I dreamt something or like imagined it up for a project. Cause like I start to kind of like the worlds start to blur a little bit. So it is odd. And I think especially now because that's all I have, right? So like in a normal situation, I would be on a set right now. I mean, I was hired to direct 4 episodes of the show Dr. Death for Peacock, and which is going to be amazing, and I'm super excited about it. I've been, you know, talking to the showrunner Patrick McManus, who's crazy talented, and I mean, he has so many irons in the fire too. I mean, he's got like right now you wouldn't necessarily know who he is, but he just sold 4 shows. So from the point that like production goes back to within a year from that, he's gonna have 4 shows on the air, like 4 shows that like have orders, not just like are in development, you know. So, you know, again, another person dealing with all these different worlds spinning. But you know, I would right now, otherwise I would be in New York shooting Dr. Death, and so I would be like myopically focused on that, and that would sort of be breaking up this stretch of time where I'm like in my imagination all the time, you know. So, so part of it is just having this extended period of time where I'm like jumping from thing to thing and they're all very different. But it's also like, you know, it's exciting and it forces me to watch movies that I've never seen before. It forces me to return to things with like a different perspective. You know, Jerry and I have watched like over 100 films in the quarantine. I know some of them you highlighted, but we've continued watching since then, you know, and so I mean, it's why I do what I do. I love consuming content, and then it's fun to look at it from the perspective of what can I learn from this, or what can I take from this and apply it to the thing that I'm working on, or be inspired by this thing and do a version of it in the thing that I'm working on, you know? So yeah, so it's been amazing to have a really focused stretch of time like that. I just sometimes have to like stop.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Do you find that when you were acting and not yet directing, did you face that similar sort of frustration or challenge, or was it when you started taking on directing little by little and growing in that you started to have all these like plates spinning a million miles around your head?
Yeah, I think it was more with the directing and producing. I mean, because there's only so many characters you're playing at any one time as an actor, right? I mean, there were times in my hiatuses where I was trying to do a lot of projects, and so maybe I was dealing with 3 characters at once. You know, there was like a tricky time right after I finished Once Upon a Time where I was in rehearsals for a play while I was shooting Backroads. So I was like flying back and forth between like play rehearsals, which are really intensive and really like, you know, emotionally demanding. And then flying out and playing a character who was also kind of intense and emotionally demanding and very different, you know? So it was, there's been times where there's moments like that, but it's not the same as like, here's 5 different projects that have 5 different visual looks, that have 5 different movement plans, that have 5 different tones, that you have to solve all 20,000 problems a day on all 5 of them. You know, when you're just like, okay, hang on, let me compartmentalize.
Yeah.
You know, and there's some days I literally have to like physically do that. I have to like make piles and go like, I'm putting this pile over here and I'm not dealing with this.
I'm just turning it off today, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, but I have these moments of like relief when I get through like stretches of work, you know, where like there's a pilot that this company, I don't know how much I can say about certain things, so I'm being vague on purpose, but there's a company I'm working with that brought a pilot to me that hasn't been sold yet, but is a really great idea based on a true story. And so they wanted to attach me to sort of the package that they take out, right? So they have a showrunner that's great, and then they bring in me as a director, and they have great producers, and they have a company that's very well established as a production company, and that gives more faith sometimes to the buyers, you know, before getting it. But that means I have to have a vision for this pilot, and it's not even written yet. It's an idea.
Yeah.
So that feels like sometimes that can feel really heavy before the sort of wheels have started to spin. But then when I start to work through that, and I talk to the showrunner, and we kind of go back and forth about it, I can start to see the world, and then I put together like the links that you and I have made together for things and the visual sort of plan. Then it gets exciting. You know, it's like you get over certain hurdles where like on the way there, you're like, wow, this is I'm really climbing a mountain. And then you're like, oh, I'm walking down the mountain now. I feel good, you know, and then you're like, oh, there's another hill, you know, like, so it's like hiking.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I cherish the most about our relationship is the mentorship component of just being able to have you sort of, because I've grown up in San Antonio, and there's only a certain amount of creative career resources that I have had access to here.
Sure.
And it's, you know, my background was in traditional office work in nonprofit and fundraising and PR. And then 5 years ago, making the transition into sort of this creative, nebulous, like there is no pathway. You just sort of make it all up realm.
Yep.
It's been so incredible to, you know, when I reach a roadblock, be able to call you and be like, how do I do this? Or I'm having so much self-doubt. And then you tell me like, Ellie, everything is about just finding a way to figure it out. Like everybody's just constantly trying to be innovating a solution to something that they really don't know how to solve. And that's been so calming for me. Like over the past couple of years, it's like, oh, you know, because so often, no matter what you're working on as a creative person, you feel like you're out on a ledge alone, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm out here shouting at the end of this cliff, like, is anybody going to catch me?
Yeah, and you're out on the edge of a cliff with like a bunch of people going like, I don't really like what you're wearing. I don't know if you're going to be able to get down from that cliff. I don't know. And you're like, great. Thanks for the reassurance.
I mean, it's just like you have to be, in a certain way, you have to be so strong and so self-confident to just, you know, sort of know who you are and stick to your values and move forward anyway. And I think like that's a lot of the strength. It's quiet strength.
Yeah.
I think, you know, like
it is.
What I've learned from talking to you and like times where I've been really down or have had a low moment and been terrified, and you've just been like, you know what? You just made waves by sticking to your values in a quiet way, and like the universe will reward you down the road for that. And like that's been something that I've just valued so much.
Oh, that's nice to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as I say that to you, I turn around and I call someone else crying, going, and then they say the same thing to me.
But that's so much about like that's the farce of it all. It's like we give so much, you know, when we want to, like you do so much work with mentoring and empowering young women and the up and coming leaders, and at the Vital Voices Her Lead, all of it, you know, like I know that you have a passion for that, but I think what's so funny is that as people, we often forget to take our own advice.
Yeah. I know. It's so true. It really is. It's hard, you know. I've been reading per Dan's sort of inspiration. I've been reading all this Marcus Aurelius Stoicism, which, by the way, you know, one of the opening the introductions to the book was talking about how Stoicism comes from the word stoa, meaning porch. And so it started because it wasn't a religion. It was just people offering wisdom on their porch to each other. They would sit on the steps of their house, and they would, And so I thought that was really cool. But one of the things that I kind of keep coming, I've been sort of reading and rereading the meditations, you know, and it's interesting how different mornings, different things hit me, even though it's the same section that I read 3 days ago or whatever. And there's a great quote that every time kind of hits me, and I'm going to probably butcher it. I'm not saying it right, but basically says like, you have to stand on your own 2 feet. You can't be propped up. And that hits me every time, because I think, at least in my head, and be like, why isn't this person supporting me? Or why isn't this person there for me? Or, you know, like, and like, yes, it's wonderful to have support in your life, and we all need it. And that's part of community, and that's part of life. But you have to be able to stand on your own 2 feet, and you have to figure out what that means. I mean, that's going to mean something different for any 2 people, you know? And so there's something really powerful about that. Like, you can't hope that someone else is going to do it for you. You know, it's like, I can support you, but I can't find your voice. Do you know what I mean? And vice versa. So it's like, the support is different than propping up. You know, I mean, propping up is like, you know, someone's legs are weak and their bodies, you know, they have to literally be held up. It's like, no, you need to stand on your own 2 feet, and then we can support you, and we can like feed you and you know, encourage you. So stuff like that really helps me too. Is like, I've really found that it's easy to start skipping those like morning moments, you know, and be like, oh, I don't have to write my morning pages today, or I'm good, I don't have to do yoga today. And it's like, I always feel the repercussions of skipping those things, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree. And for me, it'll take a few days. You know, if I'm in a stretch where I'm like, I'm good. And then a few days later, all of a sudden I start babbling fear. It's like gobbledygook. And I'll be like, Dan, do you think that this will happen because of it? And he's like, what?
Go right. Go sit down and write. Yep.
What is that? Yeah. It's really interesting. Yeah, and being a creator can feel very lonely, I think, in times when you're not in a room collaborating with people. It can be very, you know, there's a lot of camaraderie there, but also when in times like this, when you can't do that, it can feel like you're just talking to yourself in your head all day long.
Yeah.
And it can
be
weird.
I mean, and I guess the version of that for me is that I get scared, because even when I'm working with writers and developing things or writing my own things, I can see how I know how I'm going to shoot it. And that doesn't mean I know every single shot. I know that I'm going to be inspired in the moment and certain things will evolve. But in general, in the big picture, I can see the movie in my head. And I can see and feel what it is. And you don't want anything to be exactly like something that already exists. So I can tell you a lot more about what something's not going to be than I can tell you about what it is going to be. And sometimes that's hard and it's scary, because you know, even turning in you know, like Taylor turning in this first draft of Slingshot, I can see the movie in my head. I know it's going to evolve. It's a first draft. Things are going to evolve. But like, I can see how I'm going to shoot it. I can see the colors. I can see the worlds. I can see the sets. I can see the setups. I can see like the composition of things. I can't put that on the page. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, so I'm like, oh, I mean, I know what's there is enough to get where my head wants it to be, but I don't know what a reader is going to take from that when they look at it. Do you know what I mean? So there's such an interesting, like, constant conversation where you're like, how do you translate the painting in your brain until you're given the tools to do the painting? You know what I mean? So it's an interesting thing, and it's something that I have such admiration for, like the real, like, you know, the filmmakers are considered truly auteur. You know, it's that term can be considered, you know, snobby, and it can be considered, oh, it means someone's difficult or whatever. But like, the truth is, it's people who have found their voices, and they have a true sense of what I'm talking about. You can see it in your mind, and you almost have to like hold it close and protect it, because otherwise all these people can read and project their own movie in their head onto what they're reading, and it can get super cloudy. So it's, you know, I mean, it's not something that has like a clear solution, but it is something that is like a constant danger when you're creating is like,
Yep.
how do I keep evolving and keep searching for it to be better, but also protect it and not have it lose the integrity of what it was meant to be?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't pretend to have an answer to that.
No, I don't think there is, but that's something that I find as a challenge when collaborating on certain projects. It's like, if I've got something in my head and then I want to be able to work with people, but sometimes that isn't the best or the right answer for me in particular, because I like to be very generous with my ideas and my, you know, like emotions and all of it when I'm collaborating in them. But sometimes what that ends up doing is changing and sort of mutating the original idea and its purity, and sort of makes it cloudy, like you said. So that's something that I've been trying to really kind of tune into and work on for the past, during the pandemic, really. Is like that evaluative voice of, do I need to be collaborating on this, or is this something that I'm gonna have to figure out on my own, you know? Oftentimes, most often in this past stretch of the few months, it's been the latter, and I've just figured it out on my own.
Well, and then, you know, I mean, what I can say is, like, the part of it that I have figured out is that, at least from a filmmaking perspective, you start to build teams of people who speak your language, you know, who are on the same wavelength for whatever reason, you know, who do see the world similarly. You know, I was listening to the Roger Deakins, who's an incredible cinematographer. He and his wife have this great podcast called Team Deakins, because they work on everything together, and it's really, really informative. You know, a lot of it is stuff I kind of know, but like, it's just been nice to listen to their process and their perspective and their collaborators, and like the conversations that they have. You just feel like you're, I don't know, for me, it feels like, you know, I'm shooting the shit with, you know, people who I really hope to work with someday. But it's a great podcast. And, you know, it just, they talk a lot about how you start to kind of collect the people who see the world the way you see it. Like Roger was saying, like, you start to work with directors who they choose the same lenses he would choose automatically, because the reason they're working together is because they happen to see the world very similarly, that they have similar taste, you know, and you kind of have to, there's a little bit of trial and error of collecting the people who are aligned to make a similar vision, as opposed to are sort of fragmented and not necessarily making the same thing. You know what I mean? So you start to find your people. That's how I always put it, you know, like you find your people, and then you hold them really close, and and you know that they're safe to share something with. You know, it's like, there's certain people I know I can send something to, and they're going to know that the first thing they need to do is be like, oh, this is what I love about it. Here's what I feel confused by. And then there's some people you send something to, and they go straight at like, well, why this and why that? And you're like, oh, you know, it's literally just even having the language of how to deliver a note, or how to deliver bad news, or how to question something, you know. And I try really hard to be as good about that as possible, because I do work with so many writers, to always lead with the positive, and also lead with, I could be wrong. Like, all I can offer is an instinct. Like, this kind of this dialogue bumps me. I could be wrong about it, but like, it might be worth looking at again. You know, things like that, where a lot of it is finding common language that is encouraging instead of destructive.
Yes, I love that. I think, and the encouraging rather than destructive is such a, it's such a vital, when you're talking about successful interpersonal, collaborative relationships and career relationships, I think that for me, that's it. Like, if somebody is, you know, I can take criticism, obviously you have to, but it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I think like that's a major thing that I've learned over the past several years, is why have so many people that I've worked for, or I've worked with, made me feel a certain way versus another person. And it's 9 times out of 10, it's the language. It's the
and it's also what triggers us, right? Like, no one makes you feel anything. You feel what you feel because of your life experiences leading up to that moment. And so, that doesn't mean you can't be triggered, you know? So it's like, there's just going to be certain people in this life that they're going to trigger you, and maybe they're just like not your people, you know? And then there's going to be certain people who like feel you and sort of feel your heart and your spirit, and they see what you're aiming for, and they're like, ooh, that's an almost, and like, here's how we can get it there. And that feels productive, you know? So, so yeah, I mean, it's the like a constant adventure of life is like kind of seeking out that community that really feels constructive and in a place where you can grow in a healthy way. I'm realizing it's 10 minutes to the end until this cuts us off. And so I feel like I should take you to the kitchen because we promised to talk about baking.
I did. I was going to say, speaking of being productive.
Right. All
I
right.
want to, you know that it's been, okay, obviously over a month since I've been in your house.
How much do you miss my cheesecake?
Every single day I think about cheesecake. Every single day. I'm like, oh, I wish I could have cheesecake.
That is so funny.
The peanut butter kind. So I'm dying to know, what have you been baking? I saw last night you made a new pizza.
Well, you know, it was Sunday, and that has become Pizza Sunday over here. I've been informed I have to make this every day for the rest of our lives. But sorry, I was having trouble getting the little thing balanced. No, but I actually really enjoy it. It's fun. And also it just seems to bring people so much joy, you know? So there's nothing better than like feeling like the thing you cooked makes people happy. We have realized that there is like this consistency of like everything is pie shaped that I've been baking, you know? The cheesecake looks like, you know, a pie shape, and pizza is a pie shape, so it's becoming J-Mo's pies over here. But yeah, no, I mean, it's been fun. It started because we were getting masa as our like cheat meal. It's like there's a pizza place in Echo Park out here that's called Masa, and it's so delicious, and I highly recommend it. But it's like an hour drive or whatever, 40 minutes there or 40 minutes back. And then like one day I was like, I bet I could figure this out. I'd been seeing like dough recipes, you know? And so then I watched this like Instagram video, like random Instagram video of someone making dough. And I was like, let's try it. So then I did. And then it became like, how do we make the pizza? And so yeah, it just sort of evolved from there. But we also, so Jerry loves research, is obsessed. I mean, you know, loves research. And so he'd research these pans. And we ended up getting these scan pans, which I know everyone's probably seen on Instagram, but I'm pull them out anyway. I'm here. I'm sorry. I just can't. I need my hands to get this.
Bring out the scan pan.
So yeah. So I don't understand how they're so nonstick. I really don't. I don't work for this company. They're not paying me anything. You barely have to rinse it to wash it. And like, I make these pizzas and they just like slide right out. You can put them in the oven. You can put them on the stove. Like, I don't know.
And Jerry's been so funny because he'll send me like he like monitors when ScanPan is having a sale, and he'll be like, Ellie,
get them. I know. Yeah. It's like, so anyway, that's been a game changer with the amount of cooking, because we have literally cooked, I think, every single meal except for like maybe 5 meals since the quarantine started. So we've been cooking a lot. And it's just a game changer. So that's been great. And then the cheesecakes, I mean, so the thing is, like, both with the cheesecake and the dough, like, every dough baby has its own personality. So it's like every pizza has a little, even though it's all the same ingredients, I don't know if it's like the temperature, the humidity, I don't know. I don't understand why, but they're always different. And the same thing with the cheesecake. Like, I can make exactly, like, measure everything to the gram and like do it exactly the same way, and the texture is never exactly the same. And I kind of had to learn what it needed to look like in the mixer. You know, like, I needed to learn the consistency so that I could figure out, like, oh, okay, this is going to need a little more egg whites, or this one's going to need a little bit of like almond flour to even it out, or whatever. You know, it's like I can't even offer people like real recipes because they seem to have a mind of their own, kind of. It's weird.
Well, you're substituting traditional flours with
That's true.
like more, sort of these healthier alternatives.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they're different every time. But like watching you do it the first several weeks that you were sort of tinkering and figuring it out, you look like a scientist in a lab at your kitchen island. Like there's like all these different things. We'd walk in and we'd be out at the pool lounging and we'd hear like clink, clank, clank. And then we'd smell the most amazing things. We're like, Jen's baking. And so we'd walk in and you'd be like apron on. I mean, it's something to see. Apron on, flour all over it, just like hair's kind of woo, you got like a frizzy and you're standing there like so focused and you're like, I think I've got it.
I had a lot of failures along the way. I mean, but like you learn from every failure, right? Like that's how you adjust. But it's true. Like I think also because I couldn't leave the house and I was like, I'm just so used to having these high pressure situations where like I problem solve and I work it out and I get it, you know, like we have to make the day or we have to do the thing, you know, and, and all of a sudden I had nothing like that in my life. And I was like, I have to bake the thing. Like, I had to like get in my zone, you know? It's like, Jerry knows now, I'm like, I don't want anyone around when I'm like doing the sauce on the pizza. Like once the dough, once that first rise happens, it's like, I am laser focused. And the couple times I've tried to like talk while I was doing it, like I forgot things and I was like, damn it, you know, like it's not as good. So yeah, I get in a real zone. And I'm sure I look like a crazy person. I've also realized like the fastest way to clean up a baking mess is to vacuum it. Which also looks really crazy. I'm literally in here like vacuuming flour off the table. I'm vacuuming myself. I vacuum my little. It's the fastest way to clean. I need to get one of those. What are those little dust busters? I need a dust buster.
I have one.
Oh,
I have one.
I'm jealous.
And I've been using it. Yes, you should definitely get one because they're amazing. And I'm doing like the windowsills and the couches and all of it. So they definitely work on your apron. I just saw Julie comment that.
Oh, is she here?
Julie's here, but I just saw Julie comment that Ellie was like, "Are they talking about Jen's favorite pizza?"
I brought them some leftovers. Like we need to do a pizza day with them. We haven't gotten to do that yet just because we've been so careful to like stay outside and wear our masks and stuff. But I brought them like leftover pizza once and I was like, I mean, you know, it's just leftover. And they went crazy and I was like, wow, even the leftovers are going over well.
And you've been sending your cheesecakes in like nice boxes as gifts to friends. I mean, it's like so nice.
Well, thanks. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if anyone's liked them.
Are you kidding? They're amazing. Hopefully. My favorite remains the peanut butter. See, Julie says so good. My favorite remains the peanut butter.
I think the peanut butter's winning. We did one after you left that was a vanilla filling, but with Reese's peanut butter chips above the crust. So that was like also a close second, I think, to the peanut butter, like the full peanut butter cheesecake situation.
Dang it.
Well, one of these days. Yeah, I know. One of these days.
We'll get there next time.
Yeah.
But, oh man. Well, we miss you guys so much.
I know this hour flew by. We can talk all day long as we learned while you guys were here.
Yeah. It was great. It was really special to have that time together and then to be near Julie and Zach and the kids too.
Yeah. No, it was really great. It was.
I'm working on a little something with Julie.
Ooh.
Yeah, she's helping me become more comfortable with my singing, and
that's
so
really cool.
Working on a little duet at the moment virtually.
She's exceptional. I mean, there's nothing she can't do, and everything she does is amazing. It's just like, it's incredible. And she's just so healing in terms of what you're talking about and getting that comfort and all of that. So
speaking of healing, I want to jump back to, because I don't think we mentioned the link. If people
before you cut us off. So basically, I'm going to post about Lab to Beauty. And then there's a link in my bio. There'll be a link in the things where you can go to see the products. And then if there's the code is just Jennifer, but I'll post it too. And you'll get a 10% discount. So I was just excited because they're much better price points than most
like high-end products like this, and they work better than most high-end products, and I can get you a discount, which makes me happy.
Yes, this is great.
So yeah, so thank you for reminding me. I didn't think to say that, but that'll all be, you know, posted, and you guys can do that
as well
easily.
as this interview. So those who want to see it, which we have 9 seconds left, can check back on my IGTV, and I'll tag you and share it